Welcome to the Sponsor Driven podcast. My name is Nico, and each week I sit down with people from across the world of motorsport, from competitors chasing their dreams on track to brands, sponsors, and people behind the scenes who make it all possible. Sponsor Driven is all about giving drivers more exposure and connecting them with fans and sponsors. This podcast is an extension of that mission, helping competitors share their journey, giving brands a platform to showcase their support, and inspiring the next generation of talent. You can listen to the podcast on all major platforms and also watch every episode on YouTube. Today's guest is Ross Alexander, the 2024 MINI Challenge Clubsport Champion, who is now competing in the CSCC Ramair BMW Championship. Ross began his motorsport journey in motocross, but after an accident in 2016, he switched to four wheels. He even built his first race car from his grandfather's Mini Cooper S, and in just 2 years of car racing, he became a national champion. Now, in 2025, he's proving himself once again at the next level. Let's welcome Ross. So, Ross, tell me, how did you get into racing and what drew you to motorsport?
Yeah, so it started from PlayStation games. I vividly remember back in the day, I was probably about 5 years old, playing PlayStation with my dad. We played the old Formula 1 games, the old British Touring Car TOCA games. Sort of got into motorsport from there. Always loved trains actually, but somehow got into cars. Started playing motorsport games from there. MX versus ATV on my Nintendo DS as well. So it was always cars, bikes, quads, that sort of thing. And then growing up, I mean, mum and dad always had pretty fast cars. Mum had an old, not an old, but at the time it was an R32. One of the only cars with like a V6 3.2 litre engine. Dad had an RS4 as well. So always surrounded by pretty quick cars, bit of power. Then mum and dad helped me get into motocross.
Right.
So got onto bikes from there. Obviously, as you said, had a crash that put me off two wheels for a bit back in 2016. And then I thought, right, okay, I still love motorsport, but what can I do that's maybe a little bit safer? So I thought racing cars around a track at over 100 mile an hour would be the way forward. So yeah, got in it from there really.
That sounds like quite a transition, but let's just quickly talk about motocross. So yeah. Were you competing or was that just a bit of fun?
It was a bit of fun. Okay. Yeah, it was a bit of fun. To be honest, I didn't really know what I was doing. I was just going around. It's not the same as a normal pedal bike, as I maybe thought it was, just with an engine attached to it. Yep. It was a lot more difficult than I initially thought it would be. And it was a pretty wet day. It'd been raining all day when I had my crash. Ended up hitting the ground pretty hard, breaking my collarbone. Bruising parts of my neck and my back as well, which hurt quite a lot. That put me off two wheels for a little bit. Yeah.
And have you gone back on two wheels ever since? Or?
No, I've thought about it. Mom's not too keen on letting me back on two wheels. To be completely honest, I'm better on four, so I'm going to stick with what I'm good at.
Fair enough. And so that transition from two wheels to four wheels, what was that like? Because obviously you were doing two wheels on the motocross bike for a while, had that crash and then transitioned into cars. Yeah. What was that transition like for you?
A lot easier than I thought it'd be. To be completely honest, four wheels, it came more natural to me. So I did take to it a lot easier than I thought, especially with sim racing and whatnot on the Xbox. A lot of what I learned just through sim racing, I could transfer into real life. So it did come a lot more natural than I thought it would, which was pretty good.
Okay. And in terms of minis, I mentioned about your grandfather and his old Mini and you turning that into a race car. Yeah. Did you know at that point that you were turning that race car into something that could be a career, or was that still just a bit of fun?
Still just a bit of fun. Right. Yeah. So when I started modifying the car, and I mean, initially we kept the car just to keep it in the family. Didn't want to sell it, didn't want to get rid of it. So kept it in the family. I sold my old JCW and then started daily in my granddad's car. Modified it, did the odd track days here and there, not with the intention of racing it, but did some track days, had a bit of fun in it, and it kind of went from there.
And in terms of those track days, Was there a moment when you thought, actually, this could be something that I could do as a career?
Yeah. I mean, track days aren't race days, but it's always good fun to go on a track day in something like a Mini, and when you're quicker and you're overtaking cars that should be quite a lot quicker than you, that's good fun. And I mean, I felt that I took to it pretty naturally, and we was quite quick on track. So I thought from that point, I was like, let's just give it a go, just see what happens.
And so what do you think was the moment where you realized that you wanted to go into racing competitively?
Yeah, so that actually came from sim racing.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I did a bit of sim racing on Forza Motorsport. I entered a competition where I was racing against Red Bull Racing, their esports drivers. It was a time trial. I managed to beat all of their drivers on this time trial around Silverstone. And I was something like 9th in the world there was just over 1 million drivers. So at that point, I was like, okay, right, we can do it on the sim. Let's give it a go, see if we can do it in real life. If we can, perfect. We clearly have some sort of skill on 4 wheels. But yeah, it was through sim racing that really prompted me to take it into real life.
And how long were you doing the sim racing for before you turned into real racing?
Yeah, it was, I mean, my first race was in 2022, started doing a bit of sim racing in 2015. So it was a lot of sweating on my Xbox, to be completely honest. Yeah, I didn't come out my bedroom. It was just cars on the Xbox. But yeah, probably from 2015 to 2022.
And did you have one of those like professional racing rigs? Or
No, we was against people that did. We was just on controller. Yeah, on controller for a while, which made it, I thought it was more difficult. But yeah, it's all I had at the time. So just thought, just deal with it and just race.
Okay, and the sim racing, was that also in minis or?
Did do a bit in minis, right. Which was on Gran Turismo, and it was actually during COVID. So the Mini Challenge guys set up a Gran Turismo esports Mini Challenge race. They did an entire championship where I was actually racing against the real Mini Challenge drivers. Mm-hmm. So I thought, right, okay, this is my first sort of, I don't know, my first go to see if I can compete with the guys that race in real life, the guys that I'm watching on YouTube and TV that are winning races. Can I challenge them? Although it's on Xbox, but can I challenge them in the racing scene? And I did, which was pretty cool. And I thought, right, okay, I can beat you on here. Can I beat you in real life? So yeah, gave it a go from there.
And who was your biggest rival on the simulator, do you think?
Zach Blackwell. Yeah.
Whose name will probably come up a little bit later on. So, yeah, let's go back to the Mini then.
Yeah.
The Mini that the race car that you built from your grandfather's old Mini.
Yeah.
Is that the one that you took into the Mini Challenge Clubsport?
It is, yeah.
It is?
Yeah.
Okay. And is that car still with you?
Still with us, yeah. So that was where we started racing, and that's where we are with it today. Yeah, fantastic. Just still progressing, still getting faster.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's his car.
And so how does it feel actually racing in your granddad's old car?
It feels, there's nothing that, it's hard to explain. There's almost a bit of extra pressure to want to do well, especially when you're driving around and it's his car. You don't want just the success for yourself, but you also want that success for him and his car.
Like a legacy.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah, to be able to say I won this race or I won this championship in my granddad's car. So there is that bit of pressure, but I mean, when you do win and you are successful, it just makes it feel that much better.
Yeah, that's great. So from basically the journey you started with that homemade money into the race car, obviously that eventually led you into the Mini Challenge Clubsport.
Yeah.
So for those who don't know, what exactly is the Mini Challenge Clubsport series, and how does it compare to something like the main Mini Challenge series?
Yeah, so Mini Challenge Clubsport is effectively it is what it says. It's a club sport level, entry level racing for one make series. So all of the cars on track are minis. There are 3 different classes, which are R53, R56, and the Coopers. So it is a hell of a lot cheaper than the actual Mini Challenge, but it is a good sort of get your foot in the door, get on track, start racing minis to see, firstly, if it's for you, and secondly, if you do have what it takes to sort of go into that next level and to try and go into the official Mini Challenge, which is obviously on ITV, a much larger platform. So yeah, it's the entry level.
It's the entry level. Okay. Yeah. And 2023, that was the first year that you entered the series, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And you finished second in class overall?
Finished second in class, in 23.
Okay. So how did that feel as essentially your rookie year?
Quite frustrating, actually. I'm not someone who particularly likes losing, especially when we had so many issues with the car that year. There was more in it for us. We could have won, but we just had so many issues with the car throughout the season that it just wasn't possible. The way that the car was handling wasn't how I wanted it to. It just wasn't in a condition or a specification where it could win a championship at that point. So there was a lot of work that needed to be done to take us into 2024 to make sure that that car is ready, fast, and can take on anyone else on track.
And in terms of the atmosphere within the paddock, things that I've heard, particularly going to some of the races, is that the MINI Challenge Clubsport is a much friendlier atmosphere than that of, say, the MINI Challenge.
Yeah.
How does that feel for you in terms of the atmosphere?
Yeah. Do you know what? It felt really nice. And I wasn't just looking forward to the racing side of it. I was looking forward to seeing my friends at the track, the other guys that we race with. I mean, Jamie Ringer, I was pretty good friends with him, and he was sort of the life and soul of the paddock. So I spent quite a bit of time with him. And it was fun. And if you ever had any problems with the car, everyone was willing to get hands on and give you a hand and just help each other out. So you were never on your own. There was never a point where I thought, I am simply on my own. If anything goes wrong, no one's going to help me, because there were people out there in the paddock that would give us a hand if we needed it. Okay,
cool. And in terms of, obviously, that's coming second in 2023, do you feel like that set you up for success going into 2024?
Yeah, because I felt like I set the goal, even in 2023 in my rookie season, to win. There was nothing in me that thought I can't do it. Ability-wise, obviously you're always going to be learning. You're always going to be your racecraft is going to progress. Obviously, the more that you're on track, but I wanted to win. I thought it was possible. There was a point in the season when I was leading the championship.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I did get pipped right at the end by Zach.
Well, it's safe to say that Zach was your biggest rival for 2023.
Yeah, he was. But it was good racing, which was good. Yeah.
And did that rivalry kind of carry on through into 2024, or?
It didn't, no, because he bought a new car and changed class, and I upgraded my car to a point that I had to change class. So he went into the R53s and I went into open class. So I upped the power to try and take it to that next level, where I was fighting Stephen Berry, actually, who won the 2023 championship in open class. So that for me was the next step.
And were there any memorable moments from the 2024 season?
There were quite a few, actually. Yeah, quite a few. I mean, the amount of times that we were just toe-to-toe with Stephen Berry, side by side. I mean, especially at Thruxton. I mean, I think we counted there was 24 overtakes in one race. And that was just me and Stephen Berry just overtaking each other throughout the entire race. So that was pretty memorable. And that was in the wet as well. So it was sketchy as well, but it was good fun.
Did it come as a surprise that you won 2024, or was it something that you were expecting at that point?
It was something I was expecting at that point, to be honest. I mean, I know that there's a lot of maybe the older generation that don't believe in sort of like esports and racing on simulators or playing Xbox and sort of learning your racecraft through there. But because that's sort of where I come from, I had full faith that it was possible to transfer all that I'd learned on the Xbox into real life. So although it was only my second year racing fully, I did feel like I had a lot of experience prior to that, simply just racing on Xbox. So yeah, I was sort of going for the win.
Okay, and in terms of 2025, obviously we're now September. You've taken part in a new series, or at least a new series for you, which is the CSCC.
Yeah.
Could you tell us a little bit more about that transition going from the MINI Challenge Clubsport into that?
Yeah, so the CSCC, it was newly set up. Pretty much, it was an idea towards the end of last year for the organisers. They set it up for the first time for this year to go racing, but it was, well, cost-wise, it was a lot cheaper to get on track. And I was at a point where I thought I need something cheaper. I still want to have fun. I still want to prove myself. But with the cost that we were sort of paying last year, I didn't actually have enough money to go racing this year. So I thought, right, let's try and find something that's a little bit more cost effective. Yep. Because, I mean, with what we were paying last year, it was a lot of money, especially paying a team as well. So this year we went solo. We didn't pay any team fees, and also paid for a cheaper championship. So yeah, it wasn't a harsh transition. I mean, there was a couple of guys from the MINI Challenge that did move there as well. So I was still surrounded by some of the same people. But yeah, it was more so just for cost, really.
Okay. Well, we'll get into cost a little bit later on. But in terms of essentially what prepares you for a race, is there anything that you do in particular that gets you psyched into the mood? Or
I do a lot of two-stepping.
Two-stepping.
Yeah.
Can you explain?
So when I'm nervous, I two-step, and it's a bit like what you do in the club, but just not at the club. I also eat bananas. It helps me calm down.
Okay.
Really weird. I was called Banana Man for a while, which was a bit strange, but yeah, Banana Man. I also like eating mawams because it's just a source of sugar, I guess, just something I can chew.
Fair enough. Are there any pre-race rituals or routines that you do outside of that? Like, is it gym routine?
Not really. I guess just a lot of. I watched a lot of YouTube videos just to refresh my knowledge on the track. So, for example, if we was going racing at Donington, although I have raced there before, I just want to refresh my memory. So, watch a lot of onboards from that particular track. Also, do it on the Xbox as well. So just to learn my lines and set the difficulty super high. So I'm forced to go for maybe very optimistic moves. So I can learn and see if I can pull them off on the sim. So then if I am put in that position in real life, I can give it a go and see if I can pull it off there as well.
So in terms of the sim racing, are you still racing competitively, or is that now just in real life?
It is just in real life. Yeah. I mean, my last competitive sim race, it was a hot lap challenge on Forza Motorsport, and it was a Logitech event. So the winner, or the top 10 drivers won a Logitech simulator setup. So that was the last one that I entered, and I came 5th in that. So I got sent a full Logitech setup, direct from Logitech, which was pretty cool. But yeah, that was the last one that I did, to be honest. Yeah, I mean, I'd love to get back into it, but with work and I'm just tired, so I've not done it. No.
Well, that actually brings us quite nicely onto the next subject, which is balancing life and racing. So how do you balance your racing career with personal life and other responsibilities?
Yeah. So I mean, initially I did find it quite hard. A lot of my time was just sim racing, watching YouTube videos, learning how to set cars up. Making tweaks on there, as well as racing obviously in real life. So trying to balance it out. I mean, just spend a bit more time with the family, not do as much sim racing, which is why I don't really do it too much anymore. Yeah. And yeah, just try and spare a bit of time for those around me and those who have supported my racing. So I don't want to just have it all racing, and just spend a bit of time with them, to be honest.
And how supportive are your family and friends?
Racing? Massively. Yeah, massively. I mean, mum and dad. I mean, we'll say that Sytner were my first official sponsor, but it was mum and dad. To be honest, yeah, mum and dad, my first sponsor. So they're your
biggest fans.
Yeah, so they've supported me emotionally with all my nerves. Obviously, the nerves leading up to race weekends and whatnot, making sure that I do look after myself, get enough sleep, eat as well, because I hate eating before a race weekend. Obviously the financial side of it as well, especially last year. I mean, I know we're going to get into costs later, but I did get put in a position where I couldn't actually finish the rest of the championship, and we were leading at the time. So it was either a case that I pull out and don't win the championship, or obviously mom and dad helped me out, and they very kindly helped me out. So, I mean, I owe it to them that I won. And then aside from mom and dad, there's my girlfriend as well. So she helped me out as well. So she came to she came to every race with me. She was also on the spanners as well since 2023. So she's been hands-on with me for a very long time, as well as being there for my nerves as well, just trying to calm me down, get me ready in the zone sort of thing. So yeah, they've all supported me.
So is she quite mechanically trained then?
Well, she wasn't at the time. It was actually just an Instagram post that I put on my Instagram account. I just put out there before I even knew who she was. Would anyone like to get into motorsport? You can come and join us, blah, blah, blah. She messaged and we sort of met through there. She started working on the spanners. We got really good friends. And it went from there. Yeah.
So she helps out with the spanner. Do you do any setup on the car? I believe that you've got your own company now. Is that right?
I do, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that for a bit?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So I've set up a business called Xander Performance. What we specialize in is, so we do general maintenance. We focus on reliability as well, because it's not just a case of pushing the car to its absolute limits, making them go as fast as possible. We want to be able to do it reliably. So everything that we've learned ever since we've started racing, I feel like we've sort of learnt the hard way. And obviously to develop the car to where it is now, a lot of it has been from driver feedback and saying we need a bit more of this, a bit more of that. And we have developed a very quick car. So I've took all of what I've learned into obviously Xander. And now we just want to start offering that to customers. We want everyone to have a fast Mini, and also driver coaching. So there are so many people out there who maybe can't push the cars to the limits, or maybe are struggling with the actual setup of the car. And that's something that we are offering, from driver coaching to car setup, and just sort of the full works, just anything that you need for your Mini to make it go fast, general maintenance, or even driver coaching. Yeah, we can help you out.
And I guess you probably wouldn't have done any of that if it wasn't for your racing.
No, not at all. No, because like I said, literally everything that we learn and everything that's put me in a position to be able to set up this business has just been through racing, to be honest.
Fantastic. And so if you weren't racing, what do you think you would be doing now?
I have no idea. If I weren't racing, what would I be doing? Do you know what? I'm not too sure. I'd probably be working some sort of telecoms job, or I have no, or maybe McDonald's. I don't know.
Fair enough. Well, that sounds a bit like a low point, working at McDonald's. So speaking of low points, were there any low points in the last 2 years that you really hit you hard?
Yeah. So when the car wasn't where I wanted it to be, as a driver, I felt like I was pushing the car to the absolute limit. Won't name any names, but the team that I was racing for at the time didn't have too much faith in me as a driver, and any complaints that I sort of come back with in terms of the way that the car was handling, it was all put on me as a driver. They told me that the reason for the lack of performance was 99% my fault and 1% the car, which as a driver, no one ever wants to hear. Obviously, you have to take some sort of responsibility. No one's perfect as a driver, but at that point, I did think, I was like, there's no way that this car is up to scratch and where it needs to be. So I felt that I was being put down quite a lot. And it did get to the point where I did think, maybe it is me. Maybe I'm not cut out for this. Maybe I need to stop. Clearly, I can't push and try and win a championship because it's just not in me to do so. That's the way that I felt at the time. Yeah. But it did turn out that a lot of it was to do with the car after doing some investigating. So.
Okay,
but that
I was going to say, outside of working with that team, obviously moving away from that team, and now essentially working for yourself as a privateer, right?
Yeah.
Have you seen a major shift and major difference?
A huge difference.
Performs?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because I mean, again, not naming any names, but there was a lot of times where I was told that certain changes had been made to the car based on my feedback, and it turns out that was a lie. So they go, "Yeah, how'd the car feel? Did it feel better?" And I was like, no, it didn't. I'm like, oh, that's weird. Obviously, no changes were made to the car. So at least now that I've gone privateer, I can do everything myself. Any change that I do to the car, I know that it's physically been done. And if it does go wrong, it's down to me. But at least I know that I have full control over what is done to that car. And we can sort of progress from there.
Have you had any major crashes?
I haven't. I've had a big moment at Donington where the back end kicked out, and I did go into the gravel. I was doing about 120 mile an hour sideways through Craner curves, which was quite fun until it wasn't. That's probably my biggest one, to be honest. It could have went very wrong. We went into the gravel sideways, and I did think we were going to roll. Thankfully, we didn't. We just pulled a couple of trims off and we managed to go back racing. But that's probably my biggest one, to be fair, that could have went very wrong, but thankfully didn't.
How has your journey been in securing sponsorship and funding through the years?
Well, apart from my mom and dad being a sponsor, quite difficult actually. I did approach quite a few different companies, tried to sell what I personally had to offer at the time, and just sort of got turned down constantly.
I'd imagine that was quite difficult in your first year in particular.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because especially like before I started racing and I was looking to sort of build the car and have people support me for my first ever year racing. A lot of the funds did come from whatever I'd saved or, like I said, from help from mom and dad. So the constant rejection was quite difficult, but it was a lot easier once we had some results behind us. We had more to offer sponsors. When you're doing multiple interviews at the end of races, race weekends, when you've maybe won a race or been on the podium, it's a perfect opportunity to shout out sponsors. And when you can say, look, I am winning races, we are getting exposure, I can give you shout outs with this many thousand people watching the stream. This is all coverage that you and your business can receive, as well as my own social platform. So at the start, very difficult. Now, not too bad, still difficult, but a lot easier.
You're sponsored by Sitna Mini, right?
I was, not anymore.
You were, okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk briefly, like, how did that relationship come about? Because you worked at Sitna Mini, right?
Yeah. So it did all start simply just because I worked there, working at Sitna Mini and pushing that particular business into a really good position. They set me a couple of tasks to sort of secure the sponsorship, which were sort of get the customer surveys up there.
I was going to say,
all the
sales related.
Yeah, earn us loads of money. But well, I personally helped get that Sitna Solihull into a pretty good position alongside my very good colleague Millie. She was great, love Millie. But yeah, that helped, and then managed to sort of have a conversation with one of the ladies who sorts out the sponsorships. She came down, had a chat with me, spoke to her all about the racing, sort of what it costs and whatnot. And it was kind of signed off from there, really.
And we're sitting there quite big followers of you, obviously, because you're their employee, but also because they're supporting you through the sponsorship.
Yeah.
Were they there at races supporting you?
Yeah, so they sent a couple of the team from the marketing team. So they actually attended your event as well. So they were there for yours.
Right.
But yeah, they attended a few of my races, got some shots and made some videos and whatnot to put out on the social. So yeah, they were pretty supportive in terms of that.
Nice. And you've also got another, or you did have another sponsor, has it Characteries this year, Refurb Doctor?
They're still looking after me.
Still looking after you?
I think they will be for a long time, to be honest. So Refurb Doctor's actually my brother-in-law.
Right. Okay.
So I'm sure that will be ongoing for a while. But yeah, so they're based in Coventry. They're a body shop. They do some incredible work. They've done a lot of work to my car as well. And there's been times where I have had little bumps on track. And when we've had issues where we've needed body work, and they've sorted me out and they've got me sort of all fixed up, repaired on the track already with no sort of scuffs, marks, dents, this, that and the other. So they've kept me going, which is good.
Good. Well, one of the key things of sponsorship is obviously return of investment.
Yeah.
How do you see, from your perspective, that return of investment to those companies? Like, have Refurb Doctor increased sales as a result of sponsoring you? Has Sitna Mini done the same?
Yeah, so with Sitna Mini, I did generate a few car sales. Retained a few service customers that did initially say that they were going to go elsewhere because some of the cars were a little bit older, so they didn't feel that it was worth keeping it sort of within the dealership and paying dealership prices. So I did manage to retain some of those customers as well as, like I said, generating sales.
Yep.
The owner of Refurb Doctor, I actually got him to buy a car from Sitna. So he bought himself this very fancy X5M. So he bought that. That was one of the sales that I did generate. But that was quite good because it was sort of networking between us. So this sponsor networking with that sponsor.
Yep.
It ended up in a case that one bought off the other. And then sort of went from there. And then I generated a few sales through Refurb Doctor with some dent pulling and refurb and all the rest of it. So yeah, It wasn't too bad.
And in terms of the benefits that sponsors get, so when you're approaching sponsors, what are the main benefits that you're essentially selling to them?
Yeah. So the main benefits are, well, firstly, it's exposure.
Yep.
So I'm really trying to push my Instagram and my Facebook platforms. At the moment, in the last 30 days, we've received 172,000 views, which to some people isn't a lot. To me, I'm trying my best, but it's quite a lot for my personal account. So exposure to start off with, not just on my accounts, but on the racing streams as well. From that, again, it could be a case that people approach these companies and say, look, I've heard of you from Ross, which did happen. We have had that happen a few times. I've heard of you through Ross. Is there any chance of you could hook me up with maybe some refurb, with a service on my car, this, that, and the other? And really, that is the majority of what we do offer, is more so just exposure and just word of mouth, just trying to just generate sales for them.
Let's move on to the cost of racing, because we touched upon that very briefly. Obviously, with the sponsors behind you, I think one of the biggest questions is, do the sponsors cover most of the costs, or are you left out of pocket with mum and dad having to pay the bills?
Yeah, so they don't cover all the cost. In fact, the most I ever had sponsorship wise was last year, and that didn't even cover half of what it costs to go racing that year.
Right.
So I had to do a lot of saving myself. Didn't have any money to go out at all. Sort of just was a bit of a loner in my bedroom for a bit. And then sort of any of the difference that I couldn't personally afford, mum and dad kindly helped me out with. So yeah, cost wise, I mean, don't get me wrong, the sponsorship helped absolutely massively, because without them, I couldn't have gone racing.
Yep.
It was just simply a case that I had to make up the difference, which was, I'll probably say, about 70% that I had to cover. So yeah, but it was definitely a good help.
And in terms of like the breakdown of costs, it would be quite good to go into like what it costs to obviously enter the race, what it costs to essentially have the car, and any modifications that need to be done to it, because some series they change the requirements every year, don't they?
They do, yeah.
So what does the breakdown look like, let's say for 2024? Where were the costs going?
Yeah, so I mean, if we talk about how much the car cost, as well as all the modifications, we're probably looking at about the £30,000 mark. The team, I was paying the team to look after me last year, £2,000 per race weekend. You had consumables on top, so we were doing about £150 fuel per race weekend. You've got tyres on top, which last year were about £170 each. You were doing 2 tyres per race weekend. Then you've got your entry fees, which were £4,500 for the season. Then if anything went wrong, yeah, so, well, and on top of your maintenance bits, so your brakes, if anything went wrong with the suspension, air filters, servicing and whatnot. So it did add up to be quite a bit of money. I think we added it up to be in the mid-20s last year altogether. It was quite expensive.
So how does that compare to the CSCC? Because you're saying that this series is much cheaper entry to get into.
Yeah,
so more cost effective.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So in terms of regulations, they're slightly more open. It's definitely still fair, but just the way that they've gone around sort of developing the regulations, you can run pretty much whatever parts you want, but within a certain specification, which a lot is done through the tuning. Cost wise, to turn up on track, we're looking about £420 per race weekend, which, as opposed to where I was racing last year, it worked out, I think it was about £700 per race, which obviously that does add up across the entire season. Obviously, as well as going sort of solo, not paying team funds anymore, so I'm saving £2,000 per weekend. The only difference is that I can't now focus solely on the racing. I'm sort of looking after the car and whatnot as well. But it's not too bad, to be fair. I can rely on the team to look after it, which is pretty good. But yeah, cost-wise, it has just worked out a hell of a lot cheaper this year just to go solo, and also just to pay cheaper entry fees.
And so would you recommend the CSCC as the better entry point into racing?
Yeah,
for
definitely.
Just starting out?
Yeah, definitely, especially if you've got a Mini. I mean, it's still a one-make series. It's the cheapest one-make mini series out there at the moment. So if you are starting off, definitely look at getting involved in that. For 2026, they're looking at they're doing a lot more than they did this year. This year was kind of their, it was their first year. So it was more of just dipping the feet in the water type of thing, just testing it, just see, firstly, if it's something that can take off and will take off. Turns out it is.
Yeah.
So they're putting a lot more investment into next year to make it just bigger, better stream coverage, and just making it just a bigger championship, actually. So yeah, I think good starting point.
And the CSCC, is that something that you'll continue to do into next year, or do you have other plans?
Good question. Do you know what? I'm not too sure at the moment. There's a couple of championships that I've been looking at. I mean, in terms of CSCC, ultimately, it depends on how many drivers there are racing. I do like being competitive. I don't want to be driving around by myself. The first race that I did this year, I won by quite some margin, which is great, but quite boring. So I am sort of waiting to see if some more competitive cars and drivers come into the series, which if they do, I'll happily go back into it. But at the moment, I'm looking at turbo tin tops because, there was about 30 of them on the grid, and I compared my times with theirs, and it would put me top 3.
Right.
But there's a lot more that we have in the car that we're still to unlock. I mean, the regulations for tin tops, we can up the boost from where we are now. We're only running 1.4 bar at the moment because we're limited to the CSCC spec, whereas we can run about 1.7, which will up the power, drop some weight as well. So with those modifications, we could hopefully look at winning the tin tops.
And do you think you'll stay in your grandfather's car for as long as possible?
For as long as possible. Yeah, there was... I did look at... Have you ever heard of the monopostos?
Yes.
Yeah, I did look into monopostos. I don't think it's realistic at the moment. Maybe I'm a bit too old. I think maybe I've gone past my peak as well. Maybe I just need to have a kid and just give them loads of money and say, go racing. But for me at the moment, I think going into the monopostos and single-seater racing, not realistic for me. I'd love to, don't get me wrong, but I just don't think it's realistic for me where I am now. So yeah, stay in the Mini.
Well, speaking of realistic, let's go maybe a bit unrealistic. If money was not an issue, like where would you see yourself? Where would you hope to be?
That is a good question. That is a very good question. I'd like to think some sort of single-seater Formula racing, whether that be Formula Ford, Formula 4, just somewhere where I can prove myself, and there are big businesses and big sponsors looking to try and sort of poach drivers to bring onto their teams. Because at the level that we're at the moment, there aren't really anyone looking to sort of take on younger talent into their teams. It is usually sort of single-seater Formula racing. So yeah, I'd like to put myself out there for that. Try and prove myself. Maybe, like I said, Formula 4. Sort of go from there if money was no object.
And are you looking year by year as to how you're going to progress, or do you have something in mind for, say, 5 years down the line?
Not in terms of racing at the moment. I think a lot now is being put into the business because ultimately I can't progress without a considerable amount more money. I mean, I did have a look to see how much it would be to race in the Mini Challenge JCWs. The car alone, from what I remember, was something like £60,000 plus VAT. Entry fees are a hell of a lot more. I think it worked out something like £20-something thousand plus VAT just to turn up.
Yeah.
And then obviously you've got to pay for the maintenance and whatnot on top. So that is a huge step from where I'm at now. So to be honest, I just need some more money behind me just to be able to work my way up. I'd love to work my way up into JCWs, but just cost wise at the moment, I'm just looking at more so generating money than spending it.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. And so minis is your thing.
Yeah.
I mean, your dailies are Mini.
Dailies are Mini. Always had Minis. Always had Minis. Mum and Dad have Minis. They met in a Mini.
Oh, really?
They did, yeah. Yeah, they met over a classic Mini. So it's just always been Minis.
Fair enough. Well, so we've talked about, obviously, your racing. It's probably worth just going a bit off piece a little bit and maybe talking about life. So what do you do when you're not racing?
When I'm not racing, working, lots of working. Still watching videos on cars, to be honest with you. I'm just glued to YouTube. still playing a little bit of Forza here and there, and going out with my family, going out with my girlfriend. Last year, I did go to Monza for the Formula One.
Okay.
So looking at doing another one maybe next year, just pretty much all racing, to be honest with you. I went to Santa Pod, weekend just gone. So if it's not me racing cars, it's something to do with cars.
What exactly does a typical day look like for you in terms of getting yourself ready for a race?
Yeah, so get up nice and early in the morning after a lovely night of no sleep. Yeah, packing all my bags, getting ready, freshening up. I feel that a cold shower always helps me. So I wake up and get in the mood in the morning, just get ready to go racing, get to the track nice and early, try and eat a bacon sandwich. Just try and eat something. I feel that if I do it sooner rather than later, there's more chance of me being able to eat. If I leave it too late, there's no chance I'm eating, unless it's a banana or a melon. So yeah, going from there, check into the hotel. If we're staying at a track that's typically pretty far, maybe like Brands Hatch, Snetterton, get to the track, set up the car, do the once over, nut and bolt check, make sure that the setup is how we want it to be. For every track, there is a different setup for us personally anyway. So for Thruxton, for example, we make sure the car is a low drag setup. And then for maybe somewhere like Snetterton, we go just ultimate rotation, just to get around all the turns a little bit quicker. So yeah, just making sure that the car is set up for the track that we're at, and then just two-step until the racing begins.
Two-step till the racing begins.
We like two
that. Nice. Okay, so I think that pretty much wraps up today's discussion. But the one question that I want to ask is, what advice would you give to aspiring racers?
Yeah. If you truly believe you're getting the most out of your car and you have people around you, maybe the team that's looking after the car telling you, no, it's all in you, there's nothing wrong with the car, ignore them. Ignore them. Do your own research. Maybe say to the team, please, can you make this change? Can you make that change? Really try and take control of the situation. There was a lot of times where maybe I left it in the team's hands and it didn't work out in my favor. It was only when I started prompting changes to the car that the car got better, which shown that it wasn't just me, it was the car as well. So don't waste time. If you think there's an issue with the car, ask them to make the changes that you want based off the whatever you want the car to do. That's what I'd do.
And if you met your younger self, what would you say to him?
How young are we talking?
Maybe 6, 7 years old. Maybe when you started motocross.
Yeah. I would say motorbikes aren't for you. You're going to break your collarbone. Stop it now. And just get onto four wheels a little bit sooner. I do wish that started sooner, to be honest. Because I do feel that now that I'm 25, for me to start working my way up, I do feel I'm a little bit too old for it now.
You never really got into karting, did you?
No, it was only really for my birthday that I got into karting. Just on my birthday, just go maybe Teamworks karting.
Yeah.
But to be honest, that's where I realised that I wasn't too bad on four wheels. Pretty much every time I went karting, I'd get maybe the fastest time of the fastest lap of the month. And I was sort of like, okay, the esports Forza racing along with the go-karting, we can do this in real life. We can do this in a car. So yeah, karting helped as well.
Excellent. Well, that pretty much wraps up our chat. So thank you ever so much, Ross. So from motocross beginnings to building your own car, winning the 2024 MINI Challenge Clubsport title, and now competing in the CSCC Ramair BMW Championship, Ross's journey shows passion, resilience, and dedication. Ross, thank you for joining us and sharing your story. To our listeners, if you're a competitor, consider joining Sponsor Driven. We'd love to feature you on the podcast too. You can follow the Sponsor Driven podcast on all major platforms, including YouTube. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, stay driven.